Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular board meeting of the Webster Groves School District this Thursday, February 27th. If you all could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? So I'd accept a motion for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. On to public comments. We did not have any written public comments this week. We do have a couple of in-person public comments. I will remind everyone that you are limited to 3 minutes, and if you'd please start by stating your name, your address, and the school district in which you reside. First up is Justin Hockey.
So Justin Hockey, 122 up. This one's pretty innocent. I was just going to request if someone could make a motion to move one of the consent items just to the general, just because I'm not familiar with what it is, but the 5.03 service agreement, Dr. Tim Jordan. It's a $1,200 speaking contract at Avery. I'm sure it's pretty innocent, but it would be helpful to, instead of having that be in the consent agenda, to have it in the general agenda as to who that person is, if they have any relationship to the district. I would appreciate that if we could just have that as part of the general discussion. So that's all my comment is. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hockey. Next, Dave Buck.
Hello, school board. Jason. You can smile. Okay. Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. I have 3 kids in the district, 2 at Bristol, 1 at Walter Ambrose. My comments tonight are focused on the subject of diversity. In my humble and imperfect opinion, the single greatest problem throughout all of American history has been our nation's tragic and relentless rejection of diversity at every turn. Inside the box, our American founders were led by white, European descent, Christian, heterosexual, affluent, and powerful men, and anyone who fell outside of that box was prejudiced, discriminated against, and worse yet, treated with hatred, violence, death, and even massacre. And that was included, but not limited to, Native Americans, blacks, Hispanics, the Japanese, Asians, Jews, Muslims, the elderly, the handicapped, women, the poor, teens, the LGBTQ community, immigrants, and the list goes on. To me, it's beyond equity and inclusion to me. For 249 years after our nation's founding, all men equal. And the value and rightness of diversity doesn't stop at racial, class, religious, or gender equality. Diversity, Alex, you know this, is the essential ingredient in all creative thinking. Secondly, diversity of thought and differences of opinion are a sign of a healthy, engaged, curious, and more interesting society and school district. God forbid we should all think, feel, speak, and act the same way. What a dull and boring world that would be. Which brings me to the school board. I know and love all you guys. You all are gifted, great people, and we are grateful for your service. Please forgive me, but I do question your diversity of thought. I wonder if you went back 3 or 4 years, how many of your votes were other than unanimous 7-0 votes? How many issues were actually defeated? I attended a lot of these meetings, and I cannot remember one. I am not a fan of 7. Of course, there will always be 100% consensus on controversial issues, but I've always liked and preferred when there is open, honest, respectful debate and differences of opinions as reflected in 4-3, 5-2, and 6-1 votes. Issues can still pass, but not pass unanimously. And maybe, just maybe, some issues should not pass. Over the last 25 years that since I've been attending these meetings, and I think I've attended as many meetings as any resident in this town, I think Arnold Stricker perhaps is the best reflection of what I'm talking about, because he was always put out a diverse opinion, and he was always unafraid to speak his mind and to stand his ground and to vote in the minority. Sometimes he was the only minority, if you remember. John, you probably remember this. And Alex, at our old company, Ralston Prina, this is what we called courage of conviction. As such, your school board candidate forum is March the 6th. I do not agree with all of Justin's positions. He knows that, I know that, but I greatly value his diversity of thought that he brings and his courage in showing up and not giving up. I proudly voted for him the first time. I voted for him the second time. I will vote for him the third time in the spirit of diversity and the need for it on the school board. Thank you.
Mr. Buck. Next on the agenda is communications recognition and information. We have our learning showcase with the Givens Art Festival.
Please introduce.
Yeah, Katie, come on up.
Oh, God, no. Messing up the system.
So good evening, everyone. Katie Cook, the art specialist at Givens Elementary, is going to share a little bit about something that's been happening for the last few years in terms of a Givens Art
Since I've been
Festival. Since Katie's been at Givens, and it's a really exciting opportunity for the kids across multiple days, and so we wanted to highlight that this evening to you. And I also want to introduce Melissa Beecham, the principal. She is here as well.
If I talk loud enough, do I have to
I usually-
the mic?
I usually hold it.
Okay. As a teacher, sitting. So, oh, okay. Yeah, I can't sit. I have a few examples about, but with the slideshow, I'll just kind of go through what our day and what this event looks like. So, okay. No, it's all right. Click the mouse. Okay. Started in 2018, and principal, and he said, stress, right? But I have to, first year I need to come up with something great. So I thought back to when I was in high school over in Belleville, Illinois, and it was my junior year, and a school teacher at one of the grade schools asked our high school teacher to send over a couple high school students to work at her event. I went over my junior year, and then fast forward 13 years after that, and I had helped her all 13 years of her art festival. So in 2018, I thought, I'll try to mirror that same concept, and I brought the idea up to the teachers at Givens, and they got right on board. So the day of, we do things like screen printing, where they actually screen print t-shirts, canvas painting, photography or sculpture projects. We do drama and improv, art with movement. Usually do at least 1 or 2 building installations. A big collage, that would be one of our larger non-painting type art projects. The entire school is involved. All classroom teachers either rotate with their classes, or some classroom teachers volunteer months in advance to do some of the stations. So then when an actual step in to rotate with their class, but everyone is involved, specialist teachers, anyone. The elective specialists also run a station. We have art with movement in the gym with Coach. We have dancing and improv with our music teacher in the auditorium, and photography and or sculpture in the library with our librarian. And then last year we had local artists that came in. 100% student engagement. That's the cool thing about it. For the entirety of the day, students are rotating between all of these stations doing art for the entire day. I have to give it to all administrators I've had, the fact that we essentially cancel all classes for the day and devote one entire school. I can't ask for anything better than that. And the kids, they come to school already in August and like, are we doing the art? In like 9 months. So just give me a break. We just did it in May. It'll come again. So, but they're excited. They're wearing their artwork to school. It's amazing. And we do all kinds of different mediums. One of the examples on there was a taped off mural in the nurse's office. We had something painted in the nurse's office that when our one nurse got in there, she said it looked a little creepy. So she asked me that year, she was like, can you do something about this? So I went in, repainted it, taped it all off, and the kids actually got to repaint the entire nurse's office with that mural. So everything it is still in our building. So it's either on the walls, painted literally, or it's a sculpture. It is somewhere within our building. So a couple of the major things that we do each year are the canvases. So all year long, students are creating artwork. I photograph every single piece of artwork that kids create, and it gets uploaded into a Google portfolio that they get to keep forever. I pick out about 16, like this year we'll have 16 classes, so we'll have 16 canvases. I pick out 16 pieces of artwork, and those students' artwork get enlarged on the canvases, and then students whose artwork gets chosen, they get certificates for being inspirations for that year's art festival, so they're really digging that concept and that idea of being the inspiration for that piece. And then they get to see that artwork. They know that that was theirs and it's hanging on the wall. So it's a pretty cool one of our pieces. Photography. It may have to end this year. Our iPads are reaching the end of their life, but our iPads were used for photography. I have 2 of them and Miss Olson had where students were going throughout the year or throughout that day, inside, outside, photographing each other, the event, anything, textures. And then I would print out about 30 of them that night that those photographs would be displayed along the wall. We have so much photography now that we actually have an entire wall dedicated to our photography gallery in our school now. And then one of the last ones is the screen printing. The kids love this because they get to wear it. I design a logo each year that goes on a shirt. The kids then get to go to the art room and pick their ink color, and they get to screen print a shirt. And then they should be wearing it the next day, but some throw it on right then and there, and it's like it's wet. And they're wearing it years and years and years to come. The teachers will get the shirts, so it's really neat to see the artwork however many years. This year we're mixing it up a little bit. There'll be 3 different shirt colors and colors, so it'll add even more variety this year. And then this year, it'll be May 8th this year. You can come and check it out. Our walls are starting to get full, so if anyone wants a piece of artwork in their office, I mean, you can. Teachers haven't already stolen it for their own classrooms, but yeah, May 8th all day long, it'll be going on at Gibbons. To have this video created. And it just kind of shows you maybe. It worked. It just worked a little bit ago. Yeah. Yeah, I guess read along. But generally, this gives you you're engaged each day. I do galleries on the screens, so that's all of their work that I've saved throughout the year. That's the T-shirts, the canvases. Last year was collages. This is them screen printing their own shirts. The piece we made. So that is what it looks like at Gibbons.
Can I just ask, can you share
Yeah.
that video with us via email after or
Yeah,
tomorrow so we can all,
he has the,
so we
he
can
may
all watch
actually,
it?
he made the video. Yeah,
Perfect.
he shared it.
You can share it with us, Derek, so we can watch it if you want. That'd be great.
Yeah. But I don't know. Any questions? Again, May 8th, it'll be at Gibbons this
Something, Joe?
Nope, question? Oh, yeah. Oh, comment?
Greatest thing I've seen. It looks so, so fun. I love that you're making art for the entire day and every iteration of art that there is. So it is amazing, and I thank you for being here to show us and also just for doing it and your passion. And even without the sound, you can see like how animated they are and how excited they are. So that's amazing. Thank
I like
you.
that the teachers and my principal, but they drop everything for the day. Makes it work at Gibbons.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Just, I'm just curious how you picked the 16. Like, what's the? Do you have a criteria? Do you just?
So they I try to go from different classes. As many boys, girls. That's what was going on the canvases. It's amazing how much they actually talk about it. So it's a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, how do you afford this for the, like, does the PTO pitch in
PTO
or, okay.
pays for the majority of the supplies. Okay. Some of it at the end of the year ends up coming out of my pocket because it goes over. I'm going to make sure it's covered. And then the T-shirts, the parents actually pay for the T-shirts. We pay for the T-shirts.
Yeah.
So every kid, whether they can afford it or not, gets a T-shirt that day to spring break. Luckily, some of our parents, if it's, it's an $8 shirt, and pay for someone else's shirt. So we really have a great community that since 2018, no kid has gone without a shirt because we have made it work.
That's awesome.
It's between and everything else.
So it looks fantastic.
Day. So.
I don't have a question, but I have another comment. Thank you for doing this, number one. But sort of what strikes me is how you're using art to build community, and it's so powerful. You can see it in pictures, you can see it in what they're doing. When Dr. Parker and I came around in January, I saw it in your room with your pictures of
Webster
plaid.
now. Did
You
see
do have
that?
Webster.
I scored myself a Webster plaid. So
I'm sure the wall and that.
it has. It's almost full now.
Yeah,
so.
but that's something that's inspiring to me, how you're using the art to build the community in this school. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. You need to stick around if you have other things to get to. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Next on the agenda is a legislative update. Dr. Simpson, I think you had a couple of things you wanted to cover, and if anyone else from the Legislative Advocacy Committee wants to chime in, feel free to do so.
Yeah, for me, and I send you different things. I get them from sources and stuff like that. But again, raise back up to the top of your exist the two bills on open enrollment. One, House Bill 711, one, Senate Bill 215. Last week, I think it was, we had a meeting and articulated, told us, we learned more about them. Senate Bill 215 at that time wasn't getting as much traction within the Senate at that time. More concerning bill with some of the different provisions of it. House Bill 711 is still concerning. Again, we see it as open enrollment as something that will be harmful to public school districts and public school district funding. I will say that I don't think it will be as harmful, my personal opinion, to like a Webster Grove school district as it will be to other schools throughout our region and a lot of school districts around the state of Missouri as they lose children, which translates to funding, which is already being really limited from the state. We knew we were already 49th or 50th when we started, and then with the governor coming out and saying that he wasn't, his budget didn't reflect a full funding of the formula. That's really concerning to all school districts. So again, just raising that back up. There's also a number of different tax bills that are out there. And I'll send you those tomorrow, some of them to look at that look to, again, reduce general revenue at the end, and which will in turn likely impact public education. And then just wanted to, there's a number of us that are going down to Jeff City on March 11th. Actually, everyone at this table will be in there. They'll be down there to meet with different individual legislators and also hear from MSBA about the legislative session. So I'm excited that our board continues to fulfill what is a major role of the Board of Education to advocate for not just Webster, but for public education. So anybody is invited to share more.
No, one thing you said, I differ a little bit in that I hear you that it won't impact Webster as much as maybe some of the other. I don't want that to come off too lightly, because I think the thing to keep in mind is that open enrollment means that, school districts are competing with one another. They're competing with private schools. And if you look at any private school, they've got a marketing department. They spend money on advertising. And that is money now that we would have to spend instead of putting into our children's education. So I agree that it may not impact us as much, but it will still have a
Dr. Simpson, but I would just encourage the community and all of us to pay attention to the budget bills, the education budget bills, as they begin to move. As we know, the governor was not going to fully fund the foundation formula by $200 million, so we, as that starts to move through the legislature, paying attention to that and advocating. I don't know that we'll get there, but continue to advocate for full funding is important for us to be part of our message. On to evaluation. And Dr. Adams again.
Good evening again. It is program evaluation season, and so we have two on tonight's agenda, starting off with career and technical education. We spoke a little bit about CTE, as we call it, in our last meeting with the learning report and several of our metrics related to our strategic plan, the pathways work, and the WG Plus initiative. And so this is really focused in on practical arts such as Thrive, business marketing, FACS, industrial technology, computer science, some of those electives at Hickson and at the high school. And so just wanted to give you a little bit of context, as I'll be referring to CTE going forward, but those are the bundle of courses that I'm talking about. Our process consisted of several teachers, a lot of high school representation, a little bit of middle school representation. We had several central office representatives, and then we had a building administrator, one of the assistant principals from the high school. We also had two parents / community members who were also both former teachers in CTE courses who are now doing other things but currently have students in the district. It was great to have their perspective and several of their connections as we move forward with our work. Our process is detailed there. We met for 2 half-days and then 2 after-school sessions. And as part of our process, we did site visits to Lindbergh's new high school, Ladou's high school, and a program in Rockwood, all related to pathways work, and also looking at, we'll be redoing some of the FACS facilities this summer. And so part of our team went to several of those locations at these districts just to get an idea of what's out there, so that we can make sure that we're offering the best that we're able to do. Part of our process is we identify what we feel like as a group, as a team, are our guiding principles related to what we believe CTE should look like and be. We use these guiding principles as we go throughout our entire process. When we start identifying recommendations, start identifying our celebrations, we line those up against these guiding principles to help guide and make sure that what we say we believe in and what we want to include and what we want to do matches what our steps going forward are. You'll also see here a list of supporting guiding principles. There were a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts in this particular group, and they all couldn't be priorities, and so we created a supporting guiding principles document as well. So in our process, we met with a couple of folks beyond the site visits. We met with the CTE coordinator from DESE, who was able to share with us kind of the trends that are happening. Our former governor, Governor Parsons, has been a big supporter, a big major player really in supporting and funding CTE work and CTE grants. And so we were able to hear about several of which we've already participated in and taken a part in, but wanted to hear about more opportunities and more work. And so Dr. Barnes from DESE met with us and was able to share a lot of information with us related to trends that are happening at the state level related to CTE and related to college and career readiness. And so that was very helpful. We also met with a couple of representatives from Rockwood who shared a little bit around their pathways work and the work that they're doing as a district. And it's fascinating. A lot of the work we're doing here, other places are doing, and now the conversation is turning to how can we support each other, how can we complement each other, and just really a positive experience. So from that, several themes popped up. One is that career readiness is constantly evolving. So courses, topics that 10 years ago kids would have been interested in taking, or the career market would have pointed us in that direction, some are no longer. And so, for instance, when you approved the Android, or you approved the getting rid of the Android course that we did in December, that's an example of needing to update our career courses to make sure that they're relevant. And so one theme that I'll talk a little bit about later is health sciences, and really making sure that we're supporting our students who have an interest and a passion in that area. Also really wanting to make sure that our CTE environments are non-traditional environments. And so how many opportunities do our kids have to go to a New York for Thrive, or to be in a kitchen and actually cooking and having that experiential component That's really, really important as we move forward, and that's also very important to the overall idea of CTE programming. Also, student interest and that it's relevant to what they're interested in and what they're doing and what they're interested in going forward. Again, immersion and experiential learning, and then authentic opportunities to transfer. So if you're in FACS and you're cooking every single day and then it's time for you to show what you know, and now you have to take a paper pencil test, there's a disconnect there. And so how do we use authentic opportunities for our kids to show what they've mastered and what they've learned? Our survey, so we surveyed our staff. You'll notice 0 responses. It's because they were all on the committee and decided they didn't need to also complete the survey. Our family responses, 75. We specifically targeted families who had students in the CTE program at middle school and at high school. And then you can see we also targeted students who were in the current program at both middle school and at high school. Equity considerations, one big theme surfaced just in terms of wanting to make sure that our students had access to those experiential materials across buildings. A lot of our programming tied to CTE courses are tied to grants, and so there's always this angst going into the next year of whether or not we'll be able to maintain that program or continue that work. And so just wanting to make sure that, as Katie shared earlier, like how do we make sure everybody gets that t-shirt? How do we make sure that everybody has that opportunity to participate? Again, authentic learning experiences. Not everybody comes to school with the same set of experiences, and so how do we create in school shared experiences that every student can pull from as we're complementing their learning? And then I'll address this a little bit later, but just fees associated with industry recognized credentials, or IRCs, which I'll talk about again, and then dual credit, dual enrollment options. We provide a lot of those options, but not all of our families can participate in that because of the additional fee. So our celebrations, these are the things that we feel as though, just looking at the lay of the land across the state and across the nation, we feel like we're in a good place with. We do offer a diverse offering of AP and dual credit options. We just recently in December, you all approved some additional AP courses, and we're excited to be offering those next year. We feel like we have strong pathways alignment for Thrive. We've started Thrive Junior. We've started the after-school program at the elementary schools. We also have engineering, a strong pathway of engineering at middle school and high school, and then we also feel like we have a strong FACS alignment. Support for experiential learning opportunities, that was a consistent theme that our staff expressed, that they felt like from their building administrators, from the community, from the board, from central office, that there was a general push and a general support for experiential learning and wanting to create those opportunities for kids. They also believe that we had access, and we do, access to public and private grant opportunities, and we continue to pursue those. A shared commitment to that authentic assessment opportunities. So again, like we talked about, there isn't someone on the team who really believes in that paper pencil test. Everyone shares that idea of it needs to be authentic. And then again, strong community partnerships. And they also believe that they had access to relevant professional development that really targeted their work, the work they were doing in their classroom, but then also CTE as a whole. Our recommendations, so these are areas that we want to push forward with and continue to improve. Expand CTE offerings and or access in biomedical fields, and so several districts have moved forward in this area. We want to, I've started some conversations with some other districts in our student survey, and also just anecdotally from conversations with our counselors. This is a big area of interest for our student body, and we really want to pursue what this can look like going forward. We also want to continue to improve our pathway articulation. I shared 3 areas where we feel like we have really strong articulation. There are a couple of areas, computer science, etc., where we have a little bit more work to do. We want to strengthen our industry recognized certification. So those are opportunities that, again, you've heard me talk about this before, but at the end of a course, instead of necessarily getting dual credit or college credit, a student can take an assessment that will allow them to leave that course or graduate from high school with a certification that they can then take right directly into a career. And so we want to expand those opportunities. That was a big part of our conversation with DESE. The state offers a variety of IRCs, and we want to go through that process, go through that list, and identify what would be most important for our students in Webster Groves. That would also match with our WG Plus initiative. We want to continue to increase vertical alignment between middle school and the high school, and we also, it was really, really important that we add post-secondary to that conversation. So what's happening when students are going into university or are going straight into a career, getting that perspective as well. And then one recommendation is to form an annual CTE committee. We loved being together so much that we want to do it on an annual basis to just constantly review our program. And that will also, by doing so, it'll also open up some additional grant doors that we don't have access to. Additional recommendations, we currently receive as a district Perkins funds, which are dedicated towards CTE programs. In order to have a standalone Perkins program, you have to have a certain number of criteria met. As a district, many smaller districts don't have enough of the criteria to be a standalone Perkins district. So we actually are in a consortium with Bayless, and Bayless and Webster Groves work together. But as a result of that, Bayless gets a little bit of our Perkins funds in order to oversee our portion of the grant. We'd like to be standalone on our own so that we can retain those funds and then use them on our own program, perhaps biomedical, et cetera, going forward. So that's something we'd like to pursue. We also want to research sustainable funding strategies. As again, we mentioned that many of our programs are grant funded and grant supported, and what does that look like to make sure that those are stable going forward. One idea that we're really, really excited about is for at the high school to create our own school-wide IT assistance program. So our students would actually get credit for creating a student help desk type of program that could support student Chromebooks, could support teachers' Chromebooks, et cetera, but it would be a portion of their schedule, it would be a portion of their day to then apply some of the computer science tech work that they're learning about in class. This would give them an authentic experience to be able to do that. Several high schools in the area are currently doing that. One idea that I'm not aware of at another district, but this came from this conversation, was to create, in a similar way for FACS, our own student-run catering project where anytime there's a teacher meeting, instead of having Subway sandwiches or something like that, we could go to our student program. They would have a real audience. They would be able to receive those funds, et cetera. It would also be most likely more economically feasible for us going forward as well, but this will be an opportunity for our students to have that real world hands-on experience as well. And then upgrading CTE facilities, including the labs, kitchens, and technology hubs. We're already in that process this summer with our Hickson and high school FACS areas, and just continuing to look at that every opportunity that we can. Next steps, map out a timeline for prioritizing these recommendations, enhance the physical spaces, again, starting this summer, research those biomedical opportunities and also the industry recognized credential opportunities. You'll be hearing more about that as we roll that out over the next few years. And then developing action plans for the culinary and IT student programs, and then again pursuing independent Perkins funding. That'll be a couple of year long process because we need to make sure we have some pieces in place, but those are our next steps. So with that, what questions do you have?
Work that you and the team put into this. I just had one question about the. So, how does that work with Bayless? Is it an annual agreement that we're in, or is it a multiple years? And what that's leading to is, are they aware we've been looking for something, and are they kind of looking for another partner? Because I just feel for their
Yeah.
kids clearly.
No, we've been talking about it for a couple of years, and honestly, we've been building toward this. Actually, even my predecessor was building toward this with a lot of the Project Lead the Way courses that we've added. some of the engineering courses, those are some of the criteria or the pathways that have to be in place. We are now just the closest we've ever been to having that whole piece put together. And so I'm not making news tonight. Bayless is aware. We've been talking with them. It's not a considerable amount of funding, but it's funding that we're trying to grab every piece of funding that we can to support the work we're doing, especially as we're talking about enhancements. And so it's another opportunity for us to maybe keep some money in Webster Groves and support our kids. Yeah. Thank you.
I want to say, sorry. I just want to say thank you to you and staff and the kids and everyone for putting this together. A lot of the interns that we get at the station come in and they are like unprepared because they say that even at post-secondary places, like this is not the equipment that we worked on or things like that. I hear that often. So I think this has given our kids quite a boost, and that's awesome. Thanks.
I appreciate that. And again, just want to say to our community, we have facilities here, but it's also our kids have so many opportunities to go other places and to see what's happening. And we couldn't have as robust of a program as we have without community partners and without community support.
Thank you for this. It sounds like we're doing some amazing things, and I'm excited for what that biomedical opportunities look like. So I'm curious, how does this interact with like South County Tech?
So South County Tech has a set of courses that they can offer. Our students can participate in South County Tech courses that we don't necessarily offer. Some of the issue is that as a lot of districts are pursuing this pathways work, and with the former governor's support, a lot of districts moved in this direction. And so bottom line, South Tech can't accommodate everyone, and so that's why we're looking in-house. How can we also make sure that we have just as a robust of a program or target needs that maybe South County Tech can't target or another district can't target, like the teaching and learning experience. That's not a part of CTE, but it's an example of how do we create a program based on different interests so that we can offer to our kids, whether it's through Launch or whether it's through South Tech or one of our programs, a variety of different options based on what they're doing. And so, yeah, we do have access to South Tech. We do use it, but they can't take everyone.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That actually came up in our conversation, yep.
And then I guess my first question is, as you're thinking about the expansion of these classes, have you guys also thought about what that means for other classes, what might roll off? Are they in the same space? Are they different? That question might be a little premature, but I'm sort of curious what the thinking is about what that expansion looks like.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We are at a point where we can't offer a course for every single interest area that exists. And so that's why we've started, and you all experienced that a little bit in December, where we're starting to replace some courses that just are no longer viable. And so, yes, to your point, staffing is very much a consideration. The budget is very much a consideration. But we are doing our best to try to keep up to date with what the students' interests are. That doesn't mean that we just continue to build and build and build. It also means that through this program evaluation processes, there may be changes or some things just may have to go away in order for new things to come. And so we haven't finalized what that plan looks like, but that's very much, especially at the high school level, a part of our conversation as we're thinking about some of these new, neat, exciting programs. There's only so much that we can do.
And for those interests that you can't provide, robust pathway for, we have opportunities at the Chelsea Center.
You got it.
For those too.
Exactly.
Any other questions for Dr. Adams? I just want to add my thanks again for all the work. This is exciting. I think we're going to take a break from program evaluation and move to indoor door replacement phase 2.
Thank you. So through our Prop S process, interior doors were identified to replace and increase the overall safety and security within our buildings, of our classrooms and other gathering spaces. So this recommendation will specifically address about 97 interior doors at Avery and Bristol elementary schools. The new doors will eliminate the excess amount of glass within the existing doors, and then upgrade those with new intruder lock sets and door hardware. Will ultimately make the classroom doors from the hallway to the classrooms much safer. This work is a continuation of a package that was approved last year, which addressed Clark, Ambrose, Edgar Road, Givens, and Hudson. So over the past several months, the district has conducted a thorough search to recommend a contractor to you for the door replacement package phase 2. The bid package was publicly advertised in the Webster Kirkwood Times, St. Louis American. It was posted on the district's website. 2 bids were received. So based on those bid results, administration would like to recommend Lexicon Construction to the board as they were the lowest bidder. The bid result was $403,875, which is below our budgeted cost for this project and will be funded through Prop S. Lexicon Construction was awarded the Phase 1 door replacement package, which was completed on time and under budget. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions?
To approve Lexicon Construction as the vendor for the door replacement package number 2 in the amount of $403,875.
That passes. Thank you. All right. You have, well,
Yes.
budget
So,
adjustment.
yep. So typically, we've brought a presentation to you because we've had some larger budget adjustments in this February timeframe. But this evening, just as part of our standard process, we are presenting to you our second budget adjustment. But it's not. It's mostly. It is all budget transfers. It's not a request for additional expenditures or changes in revenue. So instead of a presentation, we're just going to kind of talk about it. Our last budget adjustment was brought to you and approved in November 2024. And the budget recommendation for tonight does not have any additional requests or changes in revenues and only has internal transfers between budgeted accounts. So the bulk of these transfers are related to moving the budget to cover our increase in property and liability insurance that we received in November, increasing supplies to cover our scheduled rolling replacement for technology, and then transfer from our repairs and maintenance over to our capital projects as we're required to do if those items go over our capitalization threshold. The net impact of the operating fund balance percentage is less than a 1% increase, and that's due to us moving those operating repairs and maintenance out of Fund 1 and placing them into our capital projects Fund 4.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Myers? To be fair, this probably could have been on the consent agenda item, but when we were putting the agenda together as an agenda item, just to be transparent with the public and with everyone about what it was. So, anybody have questions? If not,
Budget adjustment number 2 as presented.
all those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed?
Having me.
For me, as Dr. knows and Dr. Adams from big deal. I've been to 2 big meetings lately. Okay, so Dr. Adams came to me. The district K-12, and so we gather
libraries, school libraries, for the programs. So our research there was 89 something of the data that we gathered. The improvements that were requested, however, they didn't want as much. It's as a parent square or notifications, and so we were like, what would be access to resources. Staff trends were also pretty exciting. For media literacy and critical thinking was very important. Libraries promote reading. About that, because we've really been ideas for improvement. A lot of the teachers appreciate co-teaching and collaboration we surveyed. Also were surveyed. They also felt like the books and material at all levels. K. Our equity we do not charge late or over. So what that means is at elementary, we never charged late or overdue fees. That just wasn't what we felt was high school did. That's not really equitable, and that there are reasons. I mean, even the librarians make mistakes. Sections at libraries, author's last name, because we feel fantasy books are authors of color that have main characters. Do they have those doing something a little bit just a certain amount of books that are more equitable? We'll connection with what one of the recommendations are, but we have daily, weekly. And so our offers free off or a principal the novel population of students that go. And a lot of our students noble neighbor work it out. We'll work connection because it means a lot for the kids to see. It's made a huge difference at Bristol. It's multiple times. You have to be able to take the praxis, and you had your teaching certificate. You could. We worked. Our Missouri school library leaders worked to offer this idea where school librarians, if they want to be a school librarian, they just take 4 courses. And then be opportunity to become a school librarian. Now, you have to take the of something like 7, added on as new. And one review past diversity. set of AI. Technology changes so much, and media literacy and digital, that any PD in that is beneficial. Learning, since a lot of library and Dr. Wichard said I had way too many slides, and I'm sorry. Thanks. Communication recommend staff quarterly. And we'll reach out some March. Program recommendations, libraries will be open the entire which can be is to check kids to when scheduling so like some more time of it. Sora is another database librarians throughout Missouri. So much more budget. Questions?
Before we take questions, I just want to acknowledge Ann and our librarian team. They're incredibly passionate from elementary all the way. When I first came to the district, you should art of it. Continue to do that. Our to that goal.
Joe.
So thank you for being here. I love our libraries. I think that that's what gives you a love of reading. I can still remember fighting over the Beverly Cleary books when I was in grade school. And I love to read to this day. I would hope at some point that we can also do something about the physical library, especially at the high school, because I think when you go to, especially down Hickson, right, the high school library is really sad. So it'd be great if we could help with that some way. And just to your point on the St. Louis County Library, they have so many great programs. If we can just make people aware that you can get your taxes help, you can have something notarized, you can get diapers, you can get snacks. There's a million great things that I think people aren't aware of. So anyway, thank you for all of this, and thank you for all you do for our students.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. High school's, it's a little tricky.
The librarians and the teams there have done a lot to try and make it so, and it's so much more inviting. And I second you, their view on that.
Yeah, no, they've definitely tried. I don't want to take anything away from that. They have made lots of efforts.
This may prove that I am not smarter than a fifth grader, but what is inquiry learning? I can't even say it.
Caring about, or let's say there's a subject in social studies, or there's a subject in science, and maybe there's a scientist that they're more interested in. It's more student-led. You know, a book or where you want to make sure that of learning.
The recommendation. So, when you mentioned that the books are organized cross-genre, not by author, I know that some authors are cross-genre as well. So how does that work out? And do librarians, if they see a student author, but there might be other works out?
With all he's the illustrator. And when I show them where his automatically go to those books. But they'll say now, well, I've read all of his books. So then I'll try to say, well, if you like him, well, let's try this author. Or if you like, this book, then let's try this particular author, this illustrator that's like Oliver Jeffers or something like that. So yes, we're always trying to guide them to wherever. The genres, we, with our database, or I should say our catalog, it's title. Figure out what genre that book shift. in different directions.
I have one final question. First of all, thank you for all of this
Thank
work.
you.
Appreciate it. So, and there about frequency was there anything in that with, is there anything different or any change in the content of the communication, or is it just really about the frequency?
Avery has we would send out monthly email, something specific for maybe that time period. So if it's October, I would give them information about new books that I've got in the library. If there's some event that's happening, there's something called choice boards, and the teachers can share those with the kids. Could be drawing a penguin, or it could be that they like to be given time here and there, or learn more about new. Parents really wanted just information about not necessarily add on some fun activities in schedules and what's happening that's fun and different in the library and lessons.
Right. Any? Thank you all for your work and your presentation. Appreciate it. All right. And are there any objections to things on the consent agenda items? All right, seeing none, we will moved. Now I will entertain a motion for recessing into executive session.
Into executive
For the purpose.
of discussing where we at personnel and negotiation. Sorry.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 We are recessed into executive session. We will take a 3-minute bio break and reconvene.